Okay, good morning, everybody. Having people filter in from the waiting room. Oh my goodness. My dog. So if you haven't signed up for this session, you want to make sure that you do so. You get for finishing or for participating in both parts of the session, you get a kit of materials that we're going to talk about today during the LEAP training. So you want to make sure that you get signed up. I think you're also receiving STAR credit for this session. So make sure you get signed up. Barbie or Lindsay, could you post that? Oh, you already posted in the chat. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's see if I can post it in the chat. There we go. So I just posted in the chat. So make sure you go in and sign up, put your organization and your address, and we'll give everybody a couple minutes to filter in. Okay, so I think most people are heading in. So the prompt on the screen, if you want to type in the chat. So tell us your name and your organization in the chat. And then tell us what your favorite science memory or children's book was growing up. So our Leap into Science session is all about where literacy and science meet. So tell us your favorite science memory or favorite children's book growing up. We'll give everybody just a couple more minutes or a couple more seconds here.
Making slot.
Yeah, so let's see what kind of things we've shared here. Let's see, we've got The Velveteen Rabbit. That's a good one. That's a really good children's book. Oh, somebody said for their science memory, they were able to dissect a pig during their senior year. I used to be a high school science teacher. We did fetal pig dissection. That was always fun. The Kissing Hand. I have a 6-year-old, and that's one of her favorite books at this point in her life. Let's see. A Stream Study. I love doing those, getting out with the kids. Jeannie B. Jones. Anything Outside. Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. That's definitely a favorite. Let's see. Making Slime. We do that a lot in 4-H. At least I do. It's one of our go-to science experiments with the kids. Let's see. A Science Fair. Felicia said the Science Fair. 2-liter pop bottle rockets. Yeah, absolutely. Mentos bottle. That's a good one. The Tawny Scrawny Lion. I've never heard of that book. It sounds cute though. Let's see. Ferdinand the Bull. Yeah. Wizard of Oz. Right. Training rats in Rat Lab in college, says Brooke. That's awesome. Got to train the rats. Amelia Bedelia. All right, awesome. So I feel like we had a good mix of science memories versus favorite kids books. So like I said, we're going to talk about, during our LEAP training today, the whole thing is where literacy and science meet for kids. So those are awesome. Thank you guys so much for sharing your science memories or your favorite children's book. So for anyone who might have come in just a little bit late, let me share one more time the link. So we need everybody who's attending this session to make sure that you sign up. You follow the link and sign up. Make sure you give us your name and your organization and your address, because if you attend this first session and then you attend the next session, then you guys will receive a kit for your organization filled with all the supplies you need to run this Leap into Science workshop with kids. So this is our light and shadow training. So you want to make sure you get yourself signed up and registered. Awesome. So if you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat. We'll go ahead and introduce ourselves here. I'm gonna make this small so that way you guys don't see boxes just floating around in the middle of the PowerPoint. Okay, so my name is Jocelyn Crawford, and I work for WVU Extension Service. I'm the 4-H agent in Kanawha County, and I have our my two friends and co-workers presenting with us. So Barbie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I am Barbie Little, and I am the WVU 4-H agent in Raleigh County.
And I'm Lindsay Ferguson, and I'm the Ritchie County 4-H agent.
So if you guys don't know a whole lot about 4-H, a big part of our job, sometimes people think that we're all about raising animals and spending time out on the farm, but we do a whole lot of science education. We do a lot of programmings at summer camps and in schools. And we're out in the community doing a lot of informal education. So that makes us, or LEAP is something that we sort of use in our toolbox to help us as we do this different sorts of educational opportunities. So by participating in this Leap into Science training, you're going to become part of a national network. So you can see the map there. So Leap into Science is a partnership between the Franklin Institute, which is a science museum in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, who developed the activities and the training. And they've partnered with the National Girls Collaborative Project, which has expertise in collaboration and gender equality. And so right now the Leap into Science National Network is in 20 states, and West Virginia is one of them. And Barbie, Lindsay, and I are actually on the state leadership team for Leap. So we do these sorts of trainings for people in all sorts of informal educator and formal educator situations. So everybody from teachers in the classroom to after-school providers to other 4-H agents. A lot of different kinds of people get to participate in LEAP. So our goals for today are, we're going to understand the Leap into Science program model to connect science and literacy together for kids. We are going to be able to lead the Light and Shadow workshop virtually or in person. So we're actually going to walk you through the Leap into Science workshop. And then we're going to talk in the second session about some variations on how you can do the workshop online, how you can lead it with a family. So that way you'll be covered and you'll be able to use your kit and your materials and what you've learned in, a lot of different kinds of situations. And then we're going to also talk about expectations on what to do after today's webinar. So once you've been trained and we go through all of this information, what are the next steps for you guys to do to implement the LEAP curriculum that you have? So we're just going to establish some norms here. So we're going to use the chat to share our comments and questions, and we'll stop every once in a while and make sure we're getting those questions answered. If you could, if you haven't already, you can change your display name to your name and your organization, and make sure, if you didn't have a chance to before we got started at the beginning, make sure you also give us your name and your organization just somewhere in the chat. It says video on if possible. That's up to you. We've spent what feels like 47 years on Zoom. You do what's best for you. If you don't need to have your video on, that's okay. We're going to have some discussions. And so I know some people are more comfortable answering questions and doing discussion in the chat. Some people are more comfortable, giving their response verbally. So we're going to try to make sure we're all comfortable and we're able to share once we get to that point. It says, raise your hands to share verbally, otherwise stay muted. We all know that. Again, Zoom for 47 years. Let's see. Oh, so moving up and moving back. So make sure that you're allowing, I know if you have things you want to share, absolutely, we encourage you to share that. But make sure that we're also leaving space for other people to share as well. Keep comments concise and limit distractions. So we have two, like I said, we are going to do this 1 hour session, then we have another one directly following. We're going over a lot of stuff in a short period of time, so we want to make sure you get the most out of the session that we're doing. Okay, so for our little networking activity, this works a lot better in person. But if you see somebody make a comment at any point in our sessions today, maybe you're an after school provider for elementary school and you see someone else who's an after school provider, and you notice that they maybe they have like the same favorite children's book, or maybe they have a really cool idea. We encourage you to network. And so that's kind of hard to do because we can't go around and shake hands and smile at each other, but we encourage you to reach out to each other, send a message, comment, make a reply on somebody's comment in the chat. So we're going to leave the networking up to you guys. Okay. So what is Leap into Science? We're going to talk about the model. This is a series of workshops that integrate open-ended science activities with children's books. So we know that there's a lot of literacy programs out there, right, that we use to get kids excited about reading, to improve their reading abilities, their reading comprehension. We also know there's a lot of STEM programs out there that are focused on, everything from getting outdoors in nature to, doing science in your home. But this is sort of putting both of those together. So we're putting literacy with science and sort of marrying them together. LEAP is geared for kids ages 3 through 10 and their families. So like I said, we're going to talk about we're going to actually go through a kids workshop, and then we're going to talk about how we can bring families in and do a family workshop. LEAP has tons of accessible science topics and materials. So this particular session is about light and shadow. So, we're going to be reading a book that has to do with light and shadow. We're going to be talking about activities that you would do that has to do with light and shadow. And LEAP is designed for community-based settings like museums and libraries and out-of-school time programs. So that's why it's perfect for you all who are after-school providers. Because it's a lot of informal, it was all designed on people presenting it are informal educators. So of course, we encourage teachers to adapt some of those materials, but it's really focused on the kids having hands-on experiences and sort of seamlessly putting together those science with those literacy skills. So we've got 3 different sorts of workshops. We've got the preschool workshop, which is for kids ages 3 to 5, and they are structured activities. You can see in the picture there, there's a little kid making shadows, right? So there's little stations of activities that kids can go around and do. Elementary ages 6 through 10 also has structured activities, but they're a little bit higher level. We get them doing more of that critical thinking that's really important for them in elementary school. And then with families, we've got a mixture of structured and based activities. So it can be set up like as a pop in, pop out, check out this station, check out this thing, maybe have a little grab and go thing to take home. So we encourage you not to only think about LEAP as something that you can do with the kids in their after school program, but if you have family nights, if you have community nights where you bring people in, LEAP is also an awesome choice to get older people and families involved as well. So our goals for children and caregivers are to have fun learning together, build critical thinking skills, and we're going to build positive attitudes towards science through all these cool activities and these fun stories. And there's not really an element of content mastery. So we are not looking to, do a pre-test, post-test and say, what has a kid learned? We want them to have this hands-on experience so they can build those positive attitudes. It's more about having that positive attitude as opposed to learning anything specific. Okay, so we're going to have you guys type some answers in the chat. We're going to give you guys a couple minutes to do that. So when we're thinking about kids' books, we're thinking about literacy, what are some skills children develop when they're reading children's books? And how do they do that? Okay, so you can answer that question. You can also answer this question, so it's an either-or situation. What skills are children developing when engaging in science activities, and how are they going to do that? So if you have an answer for both of these, you can put like books in your answer and then science in your answer. If you've got an answer for one or the other, that's great too. So we'll give everybody just a couple minutes to think about that. What skills are children developing when reading children's books, and how are they doing that? And what skills are children developing when they're engaging in science activities, and how are they doing that? So I'll give you guys maybe 2 minutes. Okay, so let's take a look at some of our responses here. Let's see. Okay. So Kelly says literacy, kids are thinking of building skills that have to do with imagination and cognitive development. Very good. For science, we're understanding cause and effect. Yep, that's huge. For science, we're doing cause and effect and social interactions. Yep. Books, putting words together and building a vocabulary. Very good. Children are learning vocabulary skills, literacy skills, engaging with books. Science is building creativity, and science is doing creativity and books are giving us an order of the story. Literacy, critical thinking, imagination, building reading skills. Books are teaching sequencing and storytelling. Science are teaching problem solving and cause and effect. Critical thinking for both. Yes, absolutely. Strengthening imaginations through books. Hand-eye coordination for books. Absolutely. That is really important, especially those for preschool age kids. Reading gives kids decoding skills and using their imagination. Science is using their imagination and problem solving. So learning to attach sounds and syllables together with reading. Let's see, books, understanding context clues, and science. Failure is another step towards success. Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of these, when I was reading through them, and some people, of course, are already making those connections. A lot of the same skills that kids need when they're learning how to read are the same skills that they're going to need when they're experiencing science, doing hands-on science. So you guys gave some really excellent answers. So these are some common skills, and they all focus on critical thinking. So these are common skills for both literacy and science that kids, when they participate in one, and if they're participating in reading and then they participate in science, they sort of strengthen each other. And then when we put them together with the LEAP curriculum, they're really helping support. So communication, asking questions, making observations. I know we think about, that's a big one. In predictions, observations and predictions, that's a big one for science, but it's also big when we read a story, right? When you read like your first part of the story, you're getting introduced to the characters in the plot, making observations about what the characters are doing, where they're going, what do you think is going to happen in the story? interpreting information, drawing inferences and conclusions, and problem solving. So all of these critical thinking skills, everything in this little circle here, are all things that we are going to help reinforce by both through the literacy aspect and the science aspect as we do these LEAP programs with kids. Okay, awesome. All right, Lindsay, are you ready?
Yes. So I'm going to talk about your role as a Leap into Science educator. And so it really involves thinking about effective strategies for helping children practice science and literacy skills. So next slide for me, Jocelyn. So in this first activity, we're going to break out into groups. And within your group, please nominate a timekeeper and a note taker who will report out for the group. Within the 8 minutes that groups are meeting, you're going to brainstorm words and images, or maybe even memories that come to mind when you think about instructional learning. And then you're going to switch and think about words and images and experiences that come to mind when you think about facilitating learning. So you're going to have about 8 minutes, so about 4 minutes for each concept. I'll be breaking you out very, very shortly. And, if you have any issues, just kind of pop back out to the main room, and then we'll come together and report out. Okay.
Oh, Lindsay, are you breaking people into rooms?
I'm breaking them in rooms.
Oh, okay, awesome. Okay.
Yep, okay. Here we go.
So Lindsay, do people have an option to join a room? Have they just been assigned?
They've been randomly assigned, and I've got a couple that are floating, and I'm moving to appropriate groups.
And I will keep time.
Okay, thank you. So if you've not joined a room, make your way to join.
And I'll broadcast a message again to everybody.
Wonderful.
Sorry, I came back. There's nobody in my breakout session.
What room?
I don't know which one I was in, but
Okay.
I don't know if everybody else's computer, I can't see your slides. Like I can see sections of them, but there's big gray boxes with lines on them.
Yes.
So I didn't quite catch I knew the question has something to do with words about images, but then I didn't get the rest of it. But nobody was there to
Gotcha.
talk to me anyways.
Okay, I'm sending it out to the group as a message, so that way everybody can see it. Because when I have boxes pulled up on my screen, then it's like grayed out. So
Oh, okay.
working on that.
It was just me, and then I was like, well, maybe I asked my group,
No.
and nobody answered.
No,
Right.
It's probably for everybody.
Okay. It says that you have 4 people in your room right now, but I can move you back in and see. Did it pop up for you?
Lindsay Ferguson, yes.
Okay,
It just
try
came
that.
up.
Okay. That is one thing that that's another thing that Zoom can figure out for us. How come when we share a PowerPoint we can't, like, what I see as the presenter, how come?
It is different.
Yeah. Why is that anyway? Okay.
Not like they haven't had some time to work on it.
I know. Zoom can do that. Zoom should be able to do that. Okay. It's been about 5 minutes.
Okay.
I can give them a 2-minute warning.
Yes, that would be perfect.
Carly's
job,
not in a
Lindsay.
room.
Yeah, there's multiple accounts. Like I've put Carly in. Try that, Carly. Okay, I think that helped.
Okay. We'll send out a 2-minute warning.
And is the evaluation we have just the LEAP thing that's on that last slide? Is that when Susan was asking about evaluation?
We can share. Yeah, she has an evaluation link.
Okay.
And at the end of the second session, we can share out.
Okay. I didn't respond. I was like, yeah, okay, this is for Jocelyn's way smarter than me.
I didn't respond.
You girls out tech me tenfold.
I've been out teaching.
But I've got a flashlight and a thing here so that I can, have a shadow.
Did you put your warning out, Jocelyn?
Yeah, I'm doing it. Yeah.
I think we've got people coming to the group. Back to the main.
I said we have 1 minute to finish up your brainstorm. There we go.
Mhm.
And then you can close
Yeah.
the rooms in 1 minute.
Okay.
Meeting controls. There we go.
Jocelyn, go ahead and move to the next slide, and we'll, as people come in, we'll get people to write in the chat. Yep, thank you.
And this session is until 11:15.
Mhm.
Because we got started at 10:15. We're doing good on time.
Okay, we're slowly getting back into the group. That's okay. That's okay that you're getting kicked out. No big deal. Okay, group 8. Yeah, there is a lot of movement in group 8. So we'll just, as we're kind of reflecting, you'll be caught up to speed. No stress for sure. So groups that were able to connect to each other, what similarities of instructional learning versus facilitating learning, what did you come up with? If you want to put it in the chat, that'll kind of start us off. What are some things that were similar to the learning that you came as a group together to talk about? What are some things that were different between instructional learning and facilitation? So have your note takers put that, okay. So Brooke says, we said that instruction is more like lecturing and teaching students step by step. We also said that facilitating learning is more of a guide. You let the students work their way through and get help as needed. Okay, wonderful. Yep. I was in group 3 and we said it was important for teachers to step back and allow children to have an opportunity to do things themselves, but we should still be there if the children need help. Yeah, so LEAP refers to that as a guide on the side. So yeah, you definitely picked that up as well. When you facilitate an activity, you're that guide on the side. Any other groups that have some similarities or differences with facilitation or instructional learning? Or if anybody wants to, talk, we can, raise your hand and unmute yourself and we can have a chit chat. Okay, Kelly, major technical difficulties. Understanding.
Mhm.
Okay. Patience. Yes. Development. Right. Okay, that's quite all right. We will get there. Consistency. Yeah, you could see that in both. Nurturing. Yeah. Encouragement. Yes. Wonderful, Kelly. So compassion, I love that. Yes. So where do you fall along this spectrum? Are you more of a, facilitator, or are you more of an instructor? So, just kind of reflect that to yourself. You don't have to put that in the chat, but just kind of identify where you are at on that spectrum. And then what kind of practices match informal learning, more appropriately. So when you're thinking of your after school settings or your out of school time, is instruction something that you lean on to, or is it more facilitation? Just your opinion. What do you typically do in your educational settings? Do you facilitate more, or do you instruct more? So if you'd like to share in the chat, you can. If you'd like to speak, you can as well. Both, yeah. So sometimes you need a little both. I know that LEAP kind of refers to, like, sometimes we have to do some vocabulary work before we get involved into an activity. So it kind of depends on the moment, the context. I use both. Provide feedback and being encouraging. Okay. I used to instruct more, but now I'm more of a facilitator. Yeah. I agree. Sometimes I felt like I started out instructing more, and then I needed, time to adapt my teaching practices. Both. Okay, wonderful. So you're going to be using those instruction and facilitative strategies throughout the core 4. So Jocelyn, kind of move to the next slide for me, please. So the core 4 strategies, we're going to watch a video, and this is developed by Leap into Science, and it goes around asking questions, encouraging scientific thinking, cultivating rich dialogue, and making connections. So, you guys hit all 4 of the core 4 in your reflection in your group activities. So Jocelyn's going to share a video. It's from Leap into Science about the core 4.
Welcome to the Leap into Science Core 4 Strategies video. In this video, we will highlight 4 important strategies to use when facilitating science and literacy workshops for children and families. These strategies help make learning meaningful, engaging, and fun. The first strategy is to ask questions. Ask questions about what participants are doing and thinking throughout a workshop to deepen their learning. Questions are critical because they bring out people's natural curiosity and motivate them to explore. Questions also elicit a learner's ideas, which gives you information to help guide their exploration. Try using open-ended questions that don't have a right answer to allow participants to express a variety of ideas. Some of our favorites are, what do you notice? What do you think will happen? How could you do that differently? Let's watch educators use this strategy in a workshop.
So now that you've made it, what do you think you would change about it? Because I just saw you kind of like shake your head. So why did you shake your head? What are you thinking?
Sometimes it doesn't go as fast. I need to put some more weight right here.
Okay, why do you think you need to put more weight right there?
So it can be heavier and launch it over.
Why do you think that person's being really loud?
Because his mouth is open, and I can tell he's not being quiet, because if you're being quiet, your mouth is like shut.
Interesting. Great. So thinking back to what we were doing yesterday, you're making an inference that because his mouth is open really wide, he might be making a really loud noise. The next strategy is to encourage scientific thinking. Provide opportunities for participants to think like scientists, which means make observations and predictions, test their ideas, learn from something that didn't work, and try a different approach. Focusing on the process of science rather than a specific product or outcome gives participants the freedom to explore and take risks, and this helps them develop critical thinking skills. When reading a book, invite children to make observations about a book's cover. Then during the story, ask them to predict what they think will happen next. During science explorations, point out occasions when participants notice things, make predictions, test a new idea, or learn from something that didn't work. You can also model scientific thinking yourself when you're asked a question you may not know the answer to by saying, I don't know, let's find out together. Let's see what this looks like in a workshop.
What sort of challenges were you just having with that?
The popsicle stick was too wide because of this thing. It was like a ball that wouldn't get under that.
What were some successes that you just had?
That this would stay fine.
Okay, so your structure is good. You just need to work on the end of the grabber. Excellent.
Before you do it, how do you think your wind catcher is going to move in the breeze?
I think it's just gonna go like this, but not in a circle.
So you think they might move, do you think a lot or a little bit?
A little.
A little bit? All right, let's test it out.
The next strategy is to cultivate rich dialogue. Provide opportunities for children and their families to have meaningful conversations when learning together, and use key vocabulary words throughout a workshop. Science and literacy learning are very intertwined. Literacy skills develop when children use language in relevant contexts like science, and science learning requires language through describing, questioning, and communicating. Define and use key vocabulary words when reading stories and during science explorations. Encourage conversations between learners as they are exploring. Invite participants to explain their ideas to a partner or a small group, which will strengthen their understanding as well as their communication skills. Let's watch this in action. The bird is actually called a projectile because that's what's being what? Tossed. That's what's being projected or tossed. And do you know what that thing's called that you pull back? Who's ever heard of a catapult before?
I've heard about it from like medieval times when they would put the rock onto the catapult and bash it into the wall.
The last strategy is to make connections. Draw connections between the concepts and stories in a workshop and participants' everyday experiences. When a topic connects to our personal experiences, it makes the new information much more meaningful to us, and we are more motivated to learn about that topic. Making connections to how children behave like scientists in the workshop can also help them see themselves as future scientists. Connect the activities to children's everyday experiences. For example, to introduce a workshop about light and shadows, you can ask, when is a time that you saw a shadow, and what did it look like? To show children how they were like scientists, you can ask questions like, how did you feel like a scientist today? Or you could use the book, What is a Scientist by Barbara Len, to highlight specific science practices. Another way to make connections is to highlight science role models who reflect participants' gender and ethnic backgrounds. Let's see what this looks like at a workshop. Do you know what kinds of engineers there are? What kinds are there?
They make the ones that make airplanes, ones that make computers.
Yeah, there are tons of kinds of engineers, and do you know what they do mostly at the core of their job? They solve problems. So they look at really tough problems just like this, and they work really hard to figure out different ways to solve them, and they don't get it right a lot of the time. And what makes them great engineers is they don't give up and they keep trying, just like you guys. Did you feel like scientists today? Yeah, I think you'd make some pretty amazing scientists.
All of these strategies support one another and can be used interchangeably. You may not always ask the perfect question, or you might miss an opportunity to make a connection, and that's okay. Take time to reflect after each workshop. Think about how you use the core 4 strategies and how you might improve next time. Remember, the goal of all of these workshops is to have fun, even for you.
Wonderful. All right, so now that we know about the core 4, which strategy, well, yep, Jocelyn's put my slide up there. Which strategy do you use the most? Right now, what do you typically use the most? Questions, scientific thinking, rich dialogue, making connections. Put it in the chat. Ask questions. Questions, okay. Questions, yep. That's typically what all 4 are important, yes. Making connections, questions, rich dialogue, questions, rich dialogue, okay. Wonderful, okay, so what strategy do you use the least? Which strategy do you use the least that maybe you're like, I need to work on this to incorporate it in my teaching? Okay, making connections, dialogue. Okay. Making connections, rich dialogue. asking questions, making connections, open-ended questions, okay. Connections, more encouraging of thinking scientifically, yes, okay. Connections, making connections. All right, so, with the rest of this workshop, we'll model different parts of the core 4, and you'll see that Barbie does an excellent job in incorporating all elements of the core 4. And so maybe that'll inspire you. If you're a little kind of maybe weaker at one area, you can kind of take some tips from Barbie. So now it's experiencing a leap into science workshop. Barbie, is that you?
That's me.
Wonderful.
Okay, so for this part, I need you to take just a few seconds and change your mindset. And we get to not be adults for a moment. I get to stay the adult in the room. But I need everybody to go into preschool mode, because I need you to be the preschool participants for this part of the training. So if you need to turn your screen off and turn your screen back on as a preschooler, that's fine. And so in the chat now, you are going to be, when I'm asking questions, I want you to try to think about that preschool answer. Channel your inner, I feel like it's the gummy bear commercial. Okay, so here we go. All right, Jocelyn, let's start this. So you're going to be the young learner, as I said, and we're going to get started. Welcome to the Leap into Science, Light and Shadows workshop. Could you please introduce yourself in the chat? Who do I have here with me today? Very nice. Oh, I have a dinosaur here too. Great. With Stacy and Felicia and Trisha, Tanya, Alex, Heather, Sierra, Melissa, Carly, Alan, Jennifer, Lisa, Ruthie, Bobby, Justin, Deanne, Micah. All right. So still answering in the chat. And if you need somebody to help you chat to type in, you can. What does light help us do? Light helps us see. See stuff. See my toys. Oh, warm. Yes. So light does help us see. Oh, it keeps the monsters away. I agree. Warm. See in the dark. See my friends. Helps me see to play. It's bright. Oh, it helps me be brave. Good. See and bright up the room. Good. Okay. I will turn the volume up. All right, is that better volume? All right, Jocelyn, go ahead and take us on. So if I want to, and I'm going to actually scoot my little thing over here, which is just a white sign, and I'm going to try to make a shadow of my hand. Can you see the shadow of my hand on my white sign? And if I add, oh, what happened when I added extra light to it? So I can have it and I can see a little bit of a shadow. And boy, when I add my light to it, it changes that. So that's what we're going to be doing through this. We are going to be looking at shadows and how light affects that in a book that I'm going to read to you. It did get bigger. It got really big. It grew. So I'm going to read to you Blackout by John Rocco. What do you think it might be about just based on that title, blackout? We've been talking about the word light, and I just said blackout. No lights, okay. Crayons, yeah. Darkness, no power. All right. Some of us may experience that. Night, dark, colors, good. Scary, oh boy. Scared? I think you'll be surprised with this one. All right, here we go. It started out as a normal summer night. The city was loud and hot. So we've got things going on in different windows. Somebody's on a phone, and she said, somebody's typing away at a computer. Looks like somebody's in there doing some cooking, and somebody wants to play a game. Everyone inside was busy. And get out. Anybody ever had one of their brothers or sisters yell at them like that? Much too busy. Look at the different lights there. As they're coming down the stairs, what can you see on the wall? I see this, yeah, see the shadows, good. At the computer, there's a big bright light. Oh boy, okay. Where is this light coming from that's over here? I see the cat too. TV, very good. And then the lights, it's blurry, Jocelyn. The lights went out, all of them. What may have caused the lights to go out? Power outage, a storm, good. Storm, maybe a storm. The sun goes to sleep, that's good. Mom! Nothing worked at all. So their phone wasn't working. They did turn on their flashlights. The city was dark and quiet and still. So in that picture that we can see, was there a storm going on? No storm. So something turned the lights out. Have any of you ever been at home before and your power goes out? And for a minute, it might feel kind of scary. But we have these really cool things around these days to help us out with that. Might have a flashlight around. Yeah, sometimes it is a scary feeling till we can get ourselves and our eyes adjust just a little bit. We huddled around flashlights and candles. Cats jumping around there. What are they making on the walls? They're doing shadows. And just like I did with my flashlight when we started this, they're having fun with those shadows. Yeah, Mom, phones having a flashlight in them are helpful. Shadow puppets, good. Even the cat made a shadow. And it was a little scared of the dog puppet. Until it was too hot and sticky to sit inside. Can we go? Where do you think they're going to go? Out to a park, okay. So we went up and up and up to the rooftop and found The lights. What lights did they find when they are up on their rooftop? A moon. Good. Moonlight. Stars. Yes. And where does the light, oh, maybe some lightning bugs. Good. And people. It was a block party in the sky. We waved to everyone, then heard other sounds below. So we went down and down and down to the street. Come on. A party was going on there too. So it's not scary in this situation. It's a good time. And people are making their own light. And no one was too busy at all. When the lights came back on, everything went back to normal. What do you think they're going to do with that switch? It could be boring, yeah. For that child, it was boring. They're going to shut it off. All right, let's see if you're right, Carly. But not everyone likes normal. I gotta go. Good idea, buddy. The end. So we're going to go out on a shadow hunt. I want you to get a light source, and you don't have to share with us like I did with mine, but if you have your phone there, and I know some of you may be using your phone to Zoom on, but see if you can make some shadows right now. Try to make that shadow bigger or darker. Change the angle of the light, and then try to make a shadow, a different shadow with the same object. Like I did my hand earlier, but could I have turned my hand into something else like they did in the book? So through this, we're going to think about how are you like a scientist today? When we read the story and you were playing with shadows, how were we like a scientist? Who might be looking at light or shadows? What kind of a science? We explored. Good, we did. An astronomer. Somebody knows a big word. Yes. We made predictions. We absolutely did. I made my shadow big, and I am a scientist now. Yes, you are, Ruthie. Jocelyn, I don't know if I have one more slide or not. No, we made it. Woohoo! We did it. Good job, preschoolers. You can put your big hats back on now.
So we get more than a 2-minute brain break because we're at the end of our session. You guys have until 11:30. And so make sure though that you come back to the second session of this of the LEAP presentation. So it's a new link. Make sure you go to the new link on the conference website. We will see you there. We're going to do the second part. So make sure you come back because if you don't, then you don't get your kit to do all of these cool LEAP activities with your kids. So everybody have a really good break. And
Get up and stretch. Go find a shadow somewhere else.
I'm going to get another cup of coffee. But we'll see you guys at 11:30. Bye, guys.